Hi friends, welcome to my channel. My name is Alex. I am the face behind Recover OCD on Instagram. I asked you guys a couple days ago to ask me some questions, whether it was about OCD or personal, and that I would answer them. So I am going to pull them up on my phone and we can go through them. I also just want to make the disclaimer that I am not a therapist and I cannot give therapeutic advice. I can only speak from experience. And if you are somebody who is struggling with OCD or any kind of mental health issue, I urge you to seek a professional and somebody who is trained in OCD. But yeah, so let's answer the questions that we got. Get comfortable here. First question I got was, how do you handle triggers from news stories related to your fears? So this isn't something I really experienced a lot because the themes that I experience aren't really like on the news. Like I know a big one, like I know people who have harm OCD will think that they committed a crime if they see somebody committed a crime on the news, and they'll think it's them. But I can give you some advice on how to approach triggers. I know people feel differently about trigger warnings and, if we should be accepting of them or if we shouldn't because whatever. So my view of triggers is that I want to use triggers as a way to learn something new about myself and to learn to try to do something difficult, try to face my fears and do something difficult. So for me, that means that if I see something that comes up and it scares me and it triggers me, instead of running and avoiding it, I try to just really sit with it. And because of exposure therapy, I really have become good at sitting with the thoughts that I'm having and not really overthinking them. Or if I am overthinking them, I'm able to stop and kind of like move on with my day. But I think triggers, I know that like everybody has different trauma and has gone through a lot of different things, and that triggers can be really, really scary for some people. And I don't want to invalidate anybody's experience, but I do think that we can learn to use triggers to help us kind of like face our fears and see things that scare us, because we know that when we avoid things, it only reinforces the OCD and the behavior. So I encourage you, whether that means starting small or whatever, just trying to face the things that scare you, because that's how you find freedom from OCD. How to deal with the fear of taking medication to help with OCD recovery. This one is really personal to me because I am somebody who did not want to go on medication, but I did. I started struggling with OCD when I was 13, and when I was 19 I finally saw a psychiatrist, but I was very, very against going on medication because I thought that it would turn me into a zombie and that I wouldn't be myself anymore. It was like a really big fear of mine, but I kind of hit a breaking point and I was like, I need to just talk to someone about this. And so my psychiatrist was so kind, and it was my first time like ever seeing a psychiatrist, and he went over everything with me. He was like, we'll start you off really, really small, and like I'm going to give you something that I know that I've seen my patients have success with. And so he prescribed me medication. It sat in the pharmacy for a couple weeks because I was very scared, but I literally said to myself, it cannot get any worse than it already is, so I'm just going to take the medication. So I took the medication even though I was really against it for a long time, and it saved my life. The thing with medication is that it's not one size fits all. That's the hard thing. So what worked for me may not work for you. Like I know a lot of people who've had success on a certain medication, and then I took it and it did nothing for me. It made my OCD and anxiety worse. And I know medications that have worked for me that other people said were a nightmare for them. So unfortunately, you do have to try to like trial and error, of course, with a doctor, a psychiatrist, who can help you like figure that process out. But I just want to say that like medication can really save lives. It saved mine, and it has not changed my personality. Like medication allowed me to be the best version of myself because I stopped being in my head so much. So I strongly suggest like learning more about it. If you're thinking about it, I urge you to make that appointment, like I said, and learn more, and just really make sure more than anything that you're working with a professional. Okay, the next question I got was, What's something you've accomplished despite having OCD as an obstacle? I have accomplished a lot since having OCD. I have a job now that I've been at for almost 3 years, and that was something that I couldn't do before. I couldn't have a stable job because my OCD was so bad. So that's a huge accomplishment for me. Just being alive is a huge accomplishment because there was a time where I didn't want to be alive. And now here I am getting married in 3 months. I was someone who struggled with really bad relationship OCD and thought that I was going to be alone forever. And like I said, now I'm engaged, I'm getting married in 3 months. So I've accomplished quite a lot, and I'm really proud of myself because it took a long time to get here. But I'm like, if you need an example or you need some hope of getting better from OCD, like, I'm your girl. Just talk to me, message me on Instagram, and I'll tell you all about my journey and how I found freedom and how I have made it to the other side. Next question I got was, how often do you do planned exposures nowadays? So because I am in such a good place now with my OCD, I don't really do like planned exposures anymore because I don't feel like I really need to. Unless a theme really starts coming up, then I'll work with my therapist and she'll help me come up with exposures. But mostly, like, my exposure therapy is now like a lifestyle. It's not just doing something, a planned exposure. Like, now I just really try to live every day and lean into my fear. So like a big thing for me was driving, and I drive every day to work now even though I don't like it. And so that's an exposure for me. Doing things of myself is an exposure for me because I'm somebody who really likes to be around people. So I just try to make everything an exposure, no matter how big or how small it is. I just really try to lean into my getting out of my comfort zone, and that kind of just helps me keep on track. But like I said, if like a theme is coming up, I will work with my therapist, try to come up with like a planned exposure, and we'll do it together while I'm with her. Hi guys, sorry about the scenery change and the outfit change. It's a different day, but I'm gonna continue answering questions that you asked on Instagram a couple days ago. So the last one that I think I left off on was, did ROCD ever convince you in an argument that you don't actually feel sorry due not to feeling shame? So here's the thing about OCD. It will literally convince you of anything. There is nothing that OCD can't convince you of. So yes, I have experienced this. I've had OCD pretty much convince me and make me question every intention, every action, every thought that I've ever had before. Like, a big thing for me, this isn't exactly the same as your question, but it's like kind of the part about doubting yourself. I would, like, when I was feeling really badly with the ROCD, I would constantly doubt every single one of my intentions. So if I liked a photo on Instagram of like a boy, like whether it was a celebrity or like an old friend, I would think like, oh my gosh, what if I liked it and that meant that my intention was that I liked him and that I wanted to date him and that I cheated on my boyfriend and blah blah blah. Like, it would eat at me and it would make me question all of my intentions, even though like there would be no valid support for it. So similar to like what you asked, OCD can convince you in an argument if you don't actually feel sorry. Like I said, OCD will convince you of everything, so I would not put it past OCD if you ever feel this way or you don't feel a certain way. If you're questioning that and saying what if and ruminating, it's most likely OCD talking. How to regulate when caught in an anxious spiral. So I don't often get caught in spirals as much as before because I am in like a really good place in my OCD. But if you're ever just like feeling if like you're in a spiral or you're ruminating or you're so in your head and you can't get out of it, I really like to use grounding techniques, whether it's like mindfulness and doing breathing exercises. I know not everybody likes that, so there are some other things I've done. I love going on walks when I'm feeling super anxious, even if I'm at work and like I just want to go for a walk down the street during my lunch break. I will just go for a walk anytime I can, unless it's like in the middle of the night. But walking has really just helped me get out of my head. And another added plus for me is listening to music. Music has really helped me in like so many ways, not because it like distracts me. And I know there's like a weird argument about distraction and OCD, and I'm not really sure how I feel about it. Like, I definitely use it sometimes and feel like it can be helpful, but I know there are a lot of people who are like, you should not distract yourself. I think there has to be like a happy medium. But so yes, I'll listen to music, I'll bake. Like, my biggest thing is redirecting my energy elsewhere. So it's not necessarily like distracting, but just really working to put all of that negative energy somewhere else. So like I said, for me, that could be exercise, baking, watching a movie or a YouTube video, like something funny that's gonna make me laugh. But music has definitely been like the biggest thing. And then also like talking to my friends or my family, and just letting them know that like I'm feeling really anxious and I feel like I can't breathe, and I'm not going to them to ask for reassurance or like get an answer out of them, but just kind of like talking to someone comforting can be really helpful, and it can kind of help bring you back to earth. And so yeah, I would highly recommend grounding techniques or redirecting that energy that you have somewhere else where it's positive and something that'll make you laugh or smile, whether it's like cuddling with your dog or whatever. But I do like breathing exercises. There's so many apps and like tools you can use online. I think it's called like 4-7-8 breathing or something like that, but I do find that really helpful when I'm like panicky. How can reassurance do the opposite effect? It seems to have personally made it worse. So I'm not exactly sure what this question means, but I'll answer it in the way that I think that they mean that they're asking. So reassurance in terms of OCD is, yeah, it's going to make it worse. It might make you feel better temporarily in that moment, where if you're worried about something and you go ask your friend or your partner or your family member or anyone for reassurance, it may help temporarily, like relieve that urgency and anxiety that you're feeling right now. But long term, it's only going to make the OCD worse, because that's how reassurance works. Reassurance feeds the OCD cycle. So the correct thing to do is to try not to ask for reassurance. And yeah, that might make you feel worse in the moment. It might make you feel super anxious, but I suggest riding it out and, like I said, really trying hard to not give into reassurance, because it will fuel the OCD and make it worse. So that could be, if that's what you're asking, that could be why reassurance is making it worse, because it's kind of like rumination. When you're stuck in a spiral and you keep giving into that spiral, it just keeps going and going and going. And another thing that I find helpful, and I've talked about this on Instagram, is that rumination and OCD are like running on a treadmill. This is the analogy that my therapist told me, and it was so helpful. You're on the treadmill and you're running and running and running, and you're not getting anywhere. That's much like OCD and rumination. You're asking for reassurance, you're giving into compulsions, and you're not getting anywhere. You're not making any progress, you're not moving forward. That's because, like I said, it fuels the cycle, and the only way to stop that is to get off the treadmill and move forward. Again, that's so much easier said than done, but long term, that's what's going to help you, instead of ruminating or instead of asking for reassurance. Next question is how to overcome the feeling that you are guilty or a bad person. I have felt this way too many times with OCD, and I'm going to give an answer that a lot of people probably won't like, but I'm giving it in the exposure perspective and what has helped me. So, and I may come off as a little bit giving reassurance seeking, but I'm just going to speak from what I think has been the most helpful for myself. And again, I am not a therapist, so I'm just speaking from experience. I forgot the question for a minute. Oh yeah, so if you feel like you're a bad person. So I think that OCD can make you feel so much shame. And whether it's the thoughts that you're having that are making you feel like a bad person, which I'm guessing that's probably what they are, in an exposure sense, I would say lean into that fear. So like every time I'll talk to my therapist and say, I feel like a bad person, she responds with, well, maybe you are, maybe you did a bad thing, maybe you are a bad person, maybe somebody sees you that way. You really just can't know for sure. It's just one of those questions you can't answer yourself. That's what she would say to me. And again, in the short term, that feels so bad, so terrible, but sometimes we have to suffer in the short term to feel better in the long term. So when you feel like you're a bad person and you keep entertaining those thoughts, asking for reassurance, ruminating, like I said, that is only going to fuel the OCD cycle. It's only going to make you question things even more, because that's how OCD works. When we feed it with the energy, it continues to grow. When we stop feeding it, it has nothing to work with, and it's starving the OCD. So that's what I would say to that. Like, really try not to answer that question. Feel and sit with it and tough it out as long as you can. Like I said, try to redirect that energy elsewhere. That is what my therapist would say to me, and that's what I would say if we're really looking to like stop feeding the OCD cycle. But another thing that has like really helped me, and again, it might be reassurance seeking, but I saw this on the internet somewhere, and it was so powerful for me. Bad people don't think about being bad people. They don't have that conscious. They don't think about how their actions or their thoughts or whatever are hurting other people. So if you're worrying that you're a bad person, that's probably a really good sign that you're not a bad person, because you have that conscious telling you like that thought didn't feel great. Just having known that person. But the other thing is, you should not feel guilty for your thoughts, because you cannot control them. We have thousands of thoughts a day, and maybe some of them we think on purpose, some of them, like most of them, come uncontrollably. And every single person is human. We all have flaws and imperfections. We all think things that are bad or immoral, whether we think them on purpose or not. Like I said, no person is perfect, and we're all, like I said, we're all human, and we all will have thoughts that probably aren't the best, but we can give ourselves grace, reminding yourself that you're human and that it's okay sometimes to have those thoughts, and whether they're intrusive thoughts or just whatever normal thoughts, it's okay, because at the end of the day, it's your actions that make you a good person, not the thoughts that you're having, because thoughts aren't actions. The next question I got was, can OCD cause a person to dwell? How to move forward? I kind of touched on this before, but yes, OCD can cause you to dwell. That's quite frankly probably ruminating, replaying thoughts and actions that you did or didn't do in the past. And because I answered this before, I'll keep it short, but the only way to move forward is to stop ruminating and to stop questioning and to stop replaying. And yes, it's not easy, but it's practice, so the more you do it, the easier it will get. Like, it becomes just a natural response after you do it so much. So like I said, the only way to move forward is to get off the treadmill and to move forward and keep going about your day and not give OCD the attention that it wants. How do you deal with uncertainty with OCD? So I think that, this is such a hard question, and everybody in life has to deal with uncertainty. And I think when we have OCD, we forget that we deal with uncertainty every day, and we don't even think about it. Like, it's not certain that every morning we'll get up in the morning after going to sleep. Like, we could die in our sleep. We could cross the road and get hit by a bus. And yes, those are very terrible thoughts, but it's possible, because nothing in life is certain. So I think remind yourself that you deal with uncertainty in other ways. You just don't even realize it. So the next time that a thought comes up, a what if comes up, you just have to tell yourself that no matter what happens, I will be okay. I will get through it. Even if my worst case scenario happens, I am resilient. I've done it before. I can do it again. Well, thank you all who asked questions. I will definitely do this again. Make sure to subscribe to my channel. I will be posting other OCD content, and make sure to follow me on Instagram, where you can find where I am most active. So I hope this was helpful, and thank you guys for watching. Bye.